All right, let's do it live on a First Friday Miracle edition of Cleveland Browns Daily. I am merely Beau. He is the great Z. How you living? But yeah, you're on. How you living?
You know what? I'm doing great.
Fantastic.
You know, last
What a
night
time.
I was with my kids and we were playing some hoops, and Bryce
Sure.
all of a sudden starts dropping
Yeah.
threes in Arden's eye, and now he's dancing and he's doing some of this stuff, and it's like, where's
Oh,
this kid get?
boy.
Oh, I know where he got it from. That was me in intramurals back in the day.
From Papa Z.
Let's go.
From Papa Z taught him
Let's
all that.
go.
That's fantastic. My guess is Arden was quick to put him in his place and maybe even threaten physical harm, because that's usually how that goes.
Oh, Arden throws bows like old school when people used to get
Yeah.
rebounds and bows up and turn. Like I imagine Gibbe probably cleared a few people out with his elbows post rebound in his Ostertag days. I don't think there's any doubt about it.
I loved a good elbow to the dome.
Oh, goodness. I mean,
No doubt.
it used to be like elbows
So when you do that demonstration, so for the folks who are not watching on the stream or our own personal Zoom, what Z just demonstrated was the rebound elbow clear out. So as you did that,
Yeah.
what is the first player who comes to mind?
So in my mind, honestly, which is weird because I actually associate him with catching it in the post and pivoting, but just in my mind, I had a vision. Two names came to my mind: Jack Sikma and Paul Markeski.
Yes,
Sigma? Sigma.
That was the
Yeah.
first one. Jack Sigma. I was going to go Mark Eaton was number 2, but Sigma was the first. That was the
Sigma,
first one.
and
was
we used to call, my high school coach used to
Yeah.
call, if you got it in the post and you caught it in the post and you kind of elbow cleared out to face up the basket, like reverse pivot,
Sigma.
face up, that was a Sigma. Yeah, that's what we called it.
That's a Sigma move. Can you play him on 2K? Can he
Yes,
be,
you
can.
can,
You get that
and he's
card?
a baller.
Can you really?
He's a three. They
He's a
gave
good
him.
player.
They gave him a 3-point shot in 2K, so he's actually he's always fun to play with. The Sigma cards are always good, and plus his name is Sigma. Come on.
Sigma. Yeah, he was an all-star.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good. That's good. Him and Paul Presley on those
Paul
Bucks
Presley.
teams
Yeah, sure.
in that time.
I like those uniforms.
Yeah, that's
they
good.
have, was it Alvin Robertson maybe was on those teams as well?
Alvin Robertson was on that
Yeah.
team before he went to San Antonio. They had the gradient green.
The green and stripes
on the side.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah,
I actually like
the
those.
gradient green stripe. Yeah, which was nice. A nice job. I don't know why they haven't brought those back as like a throwback option. They're kind of cool. I haven't seen anybody else have those.
No. True.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good. There we
Yeah.
go. So, yeah.
Very good. Well, what an evening you had.
I thought I'd put it on my Instagram, but I knew you did follow me.
Put it
so
out there.
I saved it. But then I saw on your Instagram
Saved it.
something so similar happened.
So similar. Yeah. Yeah. I'm new to the Instagram, and I never know what to do,
Bootsy
like how much to
Doncic.
put out. I've usually he goes, yesterday I picked him up from school, and Bootsy's always complaining about, like this one kid thinks he's faster than him, and they race. So, and yet Bootsy claims he beats him all the time. He goes, I beat him all the time. It's not even close, Dad. And I said, okay. And he goes, so then after that, he goes, I bet he doesn't even know who my favorite basketball player is. And I said, well, I don't know. I bet he doesn't either. And he goes, well, my favorite old school player is obviously Larry Bird. And my favorite new school player is obviously Luka Doncic.
Luka.
Obviously. How could you not know that? Okay. All right. You're 5. Settle down, coach. I will say that 2K game has been incredible for them getting to know like the old school dudes. It's awesome. Like they know them all.
And the detail is crazy. Like they just put out a new Drazen card, and Drazen would have that where he would do that kind of one fist or sometimes a 2 fists after 3. He does that after he makes threes. He's like he gives it that before he goes.
Amazing.
There's a lot of stuff that's really it's a pretty spectacular game, and I will say it's taken him a few years, but this is the first year that I think they really mastered the step back animations and functionality of it, because that's such a huge part of the NBA game now. Is that Luka, for example, has his step back, or Curry has the Curry slide where he goes behind the back as he's going backwards and then goes right in the shot. They've added all those little things in there. It's a fine game. It's a fine game, and they've done what I think is great. Is that my team obviously in some levels can be pay for play in the sense that you want to get the best cards, and to do that you have to buy the packs and rip and all that. They put a ton. You can, if with no money spent, you can end up with a really solid team. There are a lot of really good free.
So that's how the
players.
majority of people play. Is they do the My Team thing online, like you draft your own players through the cards. Is that how the majority of people play that game?
I would say that they do two things. It's either my team or my player. So my player, you make your own guy. And you do the build you want. You got to put a lot of time, though, to build them up, which is the only part of it that's not great, or you can spend money, obviously, to ramp them up faster. And then you are you in this world. And you can go to the playground and hop into a 3-on-3 pickup game, or you can go play in pro-am leagues that have like regularly scheduled games where you're on a team and you get to go play and you play your role. You're just playing your guy, which is
okay. I think
pretty
Black
cool
Cobra's
too.
doing that. I saw him like playing with West Virginia.
Yep, that's
he was
what he's
playing
doing.
with like
Tell
West
him to just
Virginia
fast forward
and
through
like
that. Get into the NBA.
get through.
Yeah.
Get through that. Yeah, so that was the way that worked, and there was like an injury.
Sure.
I'm like, this is too much. I can't wrap my head around this. He's like, an injury has to miss 2 games, and you have to decide whether to play him slightly injured or not. And I'm like, you got me, pal. It's
That
out of
part
my
of it
depth.
is fun, but what's cool about the My Players, you can make him look however you want. You can go into the stores and buy clothes and fit yourself out however you want, and you also can control your own animation. So you can put. There are like 3 different animations and speeds that go into the jump shot. So you can find and create a jump shot that fits your natural button press the best. And then you start greening everything. When you're a green machine, forget about it. It's over.
Favorite jump, if you could have it shoot anyone's jump shot, if your body could jump into anyone's jump shot, whose would it be?
Of all time? Like real life?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, Rex.
Like you just spend one day shooting this jump shot.
Rex.
Yeah.
Rex was my guy. The
Rex was good.
one-legged,
Well, you loved
the
Rex so
jumper
much.
coming off the screen left to right.
He wasn't my guy, but I always thought like, and especially, and a lot of people don't remember this time because their reference point with him is so much when he was with the Celtics and then later with the Heat. But Ray Allen on the transition from Milwaukee to Seattle.
Yep.
He played on a team with Seattle that had Rashard Lewis on it, and a big guy wore number 77. The name escapes me. They could all shoot threes, and Ray Allen's ability on a pull-up had the quickest release, and the fact that he was taller, you just felt he could get any shot at any point, and I thought the release was just perfect. It was just perfect.
I always thought Clay's shot was just so pure. It's just right in the shoot, and it's
but he wasn't.
So pure.
No question, his is probably the purest. Allen's ability, because he would be on the dribble.
Yeah.
Like his ability to transition to shot from anywhere so quickly.
Stop.
He was so good at UConn.
Pop.
He was so good.
It drops.
Yeah, so great, so great. Let's get into the OBM Hot Topics. Ohio Business Team, preferred computer provider, your Cleveland Browns. For all the X's and O's for your office, you can call 216-485-2000 or visit ohiobusinessmachines.com. So as we went off the air yesterday, pretty scary with Tiger Woods. Pretty scary because this happened in the last 15 minutes of our show. We were in the middle of tomfoolery, and all of a sudden this Tiger Woods crash happens. And right as we're going off the air, the images start to come of the vehicle. The details start to come out about Jaws of Life, and that was later not true, as it were. And we had just gotten the statement from the agent of him in surgery for serious leg injuries, and we know a lot more now. And we know that he's going to be okay. We know that obviously a major surgery on his right leg. The vehicle held up quite well when you talk about airbags and you talk about the structure of the vehicle. Like it's pretty impressive the way that the vehicle hung in there. And there's been some images of Ben Hogan's car in his wreck and what happened to him, and that thing was just smoked. And that was not the case here. The car held up quite well. And so then you can have I was thinking this morning about this. I'm so thankful that he won the Masters in 19.
Yep.
Because he is, from an individual sport perspective, no person in an individual sport has brought me more joy than watching him play golf in my life. There's been certain teams, certainly players on teams, no question. But in terms of just an individual sport, so you're talking about track and field and boxing and tennis and golf and these. No one's brought me more joy than Tiger Woods. Yeah, I knew you were going to go there. I know you love Phelps. You're a big swimmer. Ledecky may be better. But anyway, I did not bring this up to get into a swimming conversation with you. What I was going to say, though, is for him to win in 19 allowed for my kids to see him win.
Yep.
Which allowed for them that day. I'll never forget, we put out a net and they went and hit balls that day. Like they were so jacked up that he won. And that's his impact. He is larger. He transcended the sport of golf. During his time. And I don't know if we'll ever see it again.
I mean, I would say my individual athlete pantheon would be, Tiger would be one. And again, we're not talking about anybody who played in team sports out of this. This is just individuals. Tiger would be one. Yep. I mean, I think what Phelps has done is so ridiculous. Ledecky might be better, but Phelps is who would resonate most with me. And then, I mean, 1991 Crooked Stick John Daly, and then John Daly winning at St. Andrews. Oh God, I love John Daly. I couldn't have loved him. I couldn't have loved John Daly more. Oh, did you see?
Yeah.
Did you see the video that went around? It was within the last week. Him on some like mini golf course, and some dude bets him that he can't make this putt. Bets him some money. Daly with a cig in his mouth, a drink in his hand, takes the putter in one hand and rolls it in from like 25 right in, and then takes the guy's money and walks off. It's classic.
It's on brand.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
No, Tiger was his dominance, and it's not like that anymore. And I know that we've had some look, Koepka's had some nice runs, and Dustin Johnson's a great player. There are a lot of great players now. Tiger was just head and shoulders above everybody. Even Phil. He was.
He lapped the field. The time when he had the record stroke wins at every major at the same time, both under par and margin of victory at all 4 majors, all at the same time. The performance he put on at Pebble, he won it by 11 shots or 12. He won the U.S. Open at Pebble.
Yeah, he dominated, but double digits. Yes, double digits.
Yeah. Like the next best guy was 2 over, and he was
only guy under par
or something crazy.
Yes.
Yeah, and the guy who was chasing was Ernie Els. So that tells you a little bit about the dude's dominance. So my hunch is he's 45. Number one, you can have the conversation because he's healthy, but my guess is probably never again. I don't know how you could come back from all of it. By the way, he just had a back surgery.
This point,
it's catching up.
At this point, so on the back burner, and I know that Tiger, I think his focus probably is getting healthy so that he can be a good father to his children. But, I was reading, David Show, the doctor, the pro football doc, who used to be the doctor for the Chargers, who now writes about it. And I was reading his assessment of reading, based on the statements, what he was. And he said that the bone stuff, he's not worried about any of the bones coming back. He says he's probably going to have several additional surgeries to keep the wound clean, to get damaged tissue out, to eventually close the wounds. And he says in such cases, the damage is often so great there's not enough muscle or healthy muscle or skin to cover the bone, and therefore a flap of tissue is needed. He said, obviously, look, the bone part of it is serious, but he's worried about the soft tissue damage around it. Yeah. And, you think about what Alex Smith needed to recover, and that's kind of what he talked about. But I just want Tiger to be okay, just
be healthy. Yeah, it seems like he's okay.
It does.
Seems like he will be. So.
And it was a weird feeling, honestly, driving out of here yesterday. And you're texting with everybody that you've had, shared Tiger stories with, which is basically everybody that all of my friends and everybody that I've known. And so you're just happy that it looks like he's going to be, okay in terms of that he's surviving. As he's lucky to be alive. It's kind of the sentiment, and I think that he'll do his best to kind of with that second chance to do whatever he can going forward to live the best life he can for him and his family. And you're right. I'm glad he won that major.
Those guys.
I'm glad he won that Masters.
Me too, because it's good. It's good to see it and have one more. For those type of guys, the why is always tricky. What's your why? Like you've had this thing you've chased. We see it with Brady. What's going to be the why if you're not someone if you're not on the PGA Tour, finding that can be tough. But his health and very good news this morning is he's going to be okay from all of this, and then the athletic career will be something well down on the back burner. Interesting tweet yesterday, former Glenville, Ohio State star, current Saints free agent Marshawn Lattimore, who tweeted late yesterday, just trying to put Cleveland on the map, be patient, don't cross me, which then led, and I'm sure you were in this too, to you and I being tagged in a series of tweets that lasted the better part of 18 hours.
By 80 people.
I had to leave it, guys. Possible? I love you all. I love you, but I had to leave it. I just had to leave. It was so much. I couldn't keep up. There was so much stuff. Look, I think just on the surface, he's from Cleveland. So when he says just trying to put Cleveland on the map, he's saying him putting Cleveland on the map, not necessarily putting the Browns on the map.
Correct.
You could read into that if you'd like, and it would certainly be something that at the right price I'm sure we would pursue. He is a great player. He's a great player. And opposite Denzel would be incredible. And I would say, this isn't a scores just from my outside looking in. I would think defensive end, secondary would be the number 2 thing you'd want to improve upon on this defense. So that would be my guess on the way that it goes. But there's a long way to go on this thing, and I wouldn't read anything into it in terms of him and us necessarily.
No, I'm not reading anything to that. And, in fact, he came out and tweeted something else today, like, I'm just talking to my friends in Cleveland. Everybody relax.
Yeah. Yeah, settle down.
Simmer down. Simmer down.
Yeah.
By the way, Bernie's
He could be
listening.
somebody.
Quick shout out to Bernie Kosar who's listening. He loved the Sigma reference. He was in on Jack Sigma. Let's go.
Of course.
Bernie.
Yeah.
Yes.
No question. Yeah. Oh, Sigma was pretty filthy. Yeah, we used to do the Sigma drill. It was called.
Yeah, we do a Sigma.
Was the Sigma drill?
Yeah,
do the Sigma drill. That was what it was called. There was a Mikan drill and then there was Sigma drill.
Yes, Mikan.
When we played, that's what it was. Yeah. The Mikan drill and the Sigma drill. Those were the two drills that you worked on. Obviously, coaches felt they were incredibly fundamentally sound. Do you think that Lattimore is somebody who you will, when it's all said and done? I think there's a group of guys who are enormous names, and Marshawn's a young guy still. There's a list of enormous names that can be had for cheaper in the short term than some people think, because of the cap and because of everything that's happening this year and knowing big TV money's coming soon.
Yeah, I think that's what you're going to see. I think this is going to be we were ahead of our time last year when we signed everybody to one-year deals. I think that the bulk of free agency is going to be one-year deals unless somebody finds a team that's got enough money that they can compensate them the fair price knowing what's coming. But I think for the most part, there are going to be a lot of teams that I think are going to be able to rent guys at below a normal market value for 1 year, knowing that those guys think, okay, here I am. I'm going to go for a Super Bowl, chance to ball out, and a chance to get really paid.
Yeah, and I think the teams that we are inching into the group of teams that can benefit from that. I mean, certainly the Rams will try to benefit from that. Kansas City will try to benefit from that. Tampa Bay will certainly try to benefit from that. Teams that are close, Seattle, there will be a lot of teams that will benefit tremendously from these one-year kind of good deals for the teams. I think there's going to be a lot of good team deals this year in free agency.
There's no doubt, and I think the Browns are a team that's very astute and very forward-thinking and will use that to their advantage as best that they can. And that's where it becomes interesting. Do you take, a short-term rental of a very talented older guy, or are you trying to hold out and get a younger guy? And for example, I know the name he keeps coming back to it, but Carl Lawson or Demon Hendrickson from New Orleans
I'm starting to worry about Lawson.
I don't think he's going to get out of Why would they let him?
I think he's getting to be too popular. Baldy's now doing breakdowns. I think,
why couldn't he just been ours? We were on this
for a while.
We were on this months ago.
We've been on this for months. I know.
Come
I think it's going to be
everyone's babies.
It's what we feared was going to happen with. I know it. It's we were worried. It was kind of like the Delpit thing. We were worried about everybody getting wind of it, and luckily it worked. But that's kind of what I think what's happened with Lawson. I think Lawson's going to end up getting paid a lot.
Yeah, did you see his tweet yesterday? Guns for hire?
Yeah.
That's me trying. I think he's saying I'm out of there. And did you see those guns? I wonder if he has a license.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I don't know. Permit at the very least. I just think that he's going to be pricey, and I can't imagine it, Cincinnati. There's a lot of threats about them franchising him, and so we'll see where all of that goes. Interesting developments out of Pittsburgh yesterday in regard to Ben Roethlisberger. Art Rooney weighing in on that situation, and I think the end result is going to be kind of a really odd season for the Steelers coming forward, which I am a very, very big fan of. We'll go around the league. Plus, Alex Smith with some interesting comments, to say the least, to GQ. We'll get to that story as well.
Yeah.
We'll go on to our favorite Jarvis Landry plays of the season here coming up in the hour, and take a look at the receiving core in the second hour of the program. Lots to get to here on a First Friday. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. All right, Cleveland Browns Daily right here on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Time to go around the league, and let's start in Pittsburgh, where President Art Rooney releasing a statement today saying that Big Ben and he have had a talk and that they are coming back. Everybody's back and all in for 2021. Roethlisberger's agent had this out yesterday. I think Aditi had it yesterday that he was coming back and that's the way that it was going to go. They have to work out the contract situation. Look, good, because I just don't, and with all due respect to him, because he's had a remarkable career, and boy, has he slayed us over the years. But I have yet to see an example of someone who has a physical ailment get better with age. And you saw this with Drew Brees the last couple of years,
yes,
where at the start of the season in camp, he looks good, he looks light out, looks like the old Drew Brees, and then by the end of the year, it's just not there. And Big Ben Roethlisberger, he may feel that way next year in camp. It may look good early, but it's, to me, that type of injury is finite, and it's not all of a sudden going to get better. So I think they're in a really, I think as an organization, and it's about damn time, I think they're in a really wonky spot.
They are in a wonky spot, and you know, Ben, it's like the mystique's gone, you know? The mystique's gone. The bloom is off the rose.
Sure.
I think everybody around the league saw it down the stretch, the limitations that he placed on their football team. His average completion last year traveled 3 yards in the air. 3 yards in the air, the lowest average depth of completion of any quarterback in the NFL last season. You know, you mentioned Aditi. She put out some stats. When the Steelers rush for 100 yards, Roethlisberger's 106, 20, and 1. That's pretty good. When they don't, he's 50 and 54. This is all time. Since 2018, when the team rushes for 100 yards, he's 12, 0, and 1. The tie being against the Cleveland Browns. Thank you very much. They are 9 and 11 when they do not rush for 100 yards. She said the man turns 39 in 6 days. Get him a run game. When you are already looking for ways to buttress your quarterback and support your quarterback like that, you know that there are some problems. I would say that the Buccaneers, while they did get some good running down the stretch and at times from Ronald Jones, etc., they were not dependent upon rushing for 100 yards to have success. The Bills were not dependent on 100 yards rushing for success. Us down the stretch, we just did it because I think we were so dominant, but we were not dependent on rushing for 100 yards to have success. The Chiefs certainly not dependent on rushing for 100 yards to have success. The Texans not, although they didn't have much success. But I just think that Ben is at this point such a limited quarterback, and I think it was so readily apparent watching him play down the stretch that this was a guy who was really struggling to play that position.
Buddy, beyond that, this notion of just get the man a run game, not only do they need back, they're losing 3/5 of their offensive line.
Offensive line, they're losing. They're probably.
I mean,
receiver talent.
They've got huge issues beyond. It's not like they can just go draft Najee Harris and it's solved.
Correct.
Like that's not where they're at. Like and again, this isn't Steelers Daily, but it does speak to our position and what the position of strength that we're in this division, quite frankly.
Yes, we're in a good spot right now.
It's there for the taking. It's there for the taking for the next couple of years, minimum.
It certainly is, and it's going to be on us to capitalize on it and to take advantage of this good fortune that we are enjoying in this division in the terms of the way that things are going and the way they're looking. But you've got to seize these moments. If we've seen anything in this division, it's how quickly teams can retool, reload, and get it together. And so we've got to be the team in this case that, you know, is the one that takes advantage of all these things, that is the one that makes sure, we're locked and loaded, we are ready to roll, and we're going to get it done. That's what this, in my opinion, that's why this window right now is so important. It's why this is an important offseason. It's different than what we're used to in an offseason, and frankly, that's a wonderful thing. It's totally different than what we're used to. What we're used to in an offseason is, okay, are we going to find our quarterback? We got to make this big move to make sure that we're capable of becoming the team that we want to be. But this year, it's kind of like the draft. This offseason isn't the salvation. This offseason isn't the foundation.
No.
We're not trying to go out and find the foundation. The foundation's there. What we're trying to do is add the accoutrement. Add
That's right.
the things that allow us to reach the next level and reach all our potential and
tweak
and hoist the Lombardi Trophy. What are the pieces we need to add in here so that we can hoist the Lombardi Trophy, which is the ultimate goal, obviously?
You have not had, and I think Pittsburgh could be headed for this, you have not had sustained losing over there since Bernie was here, speaking of our great friend Bernie Kosar. From 85 to 88, the Steelers had one winning season. They went 8-7. They were 7-9, 6-10, 8-7, 5-11. I had forgotten that they had a couple of 6-10 seasons under Cowher. They had a season where they were with Mike Tomczak was a quarterback in '99, where they went 6-10, and then they had another season where they went 6-10 with Tommy Maddox as the quarterback in 2003, and then in '04 they went 15-1 with Roethlisberger in there, and then won the Super Bowl the next year. So they really don't have much of it. The only really time was in the mid to late '80s where they were struggling, and that's it. So it's not something they're used to, certainly, and I feel zero pity for them at all. Gibby wants to know, would you extend Tom Brady beyond this season? Tampa Bay sounding like a team that is going to. I would have no issue with it at all.
I have no issue. He's a cyborg, and it probably allows them to spread the money out and make room for Chris Godwin. I would imagine that's part of the thinking of it is, A, yeah, we want to keep Tom Brady here. That's good for business. But B, it's going to allow us to do some salary cap maneuvering that will help us.
He has so many irons in the fire financially in terms of endorsements and the fact that his wife makes upwards of $50 million a year.
Yeah.
It ain't going to be about money.
Of course.
It's just,
he wants to keep winning.
He's made it. He's made. Keep winning. Does he want to keep winning? Keep playing. It's that simple. What did you make of the Alex Smith comments? This was to GQ. I'll read you. It's pretty candid, to say the least, and revealing. He told GQ, the Washington football team, quote, they didn't see it, didn't want me there, didn't want me to be a part of it, didn't want me to be on the team, the roster, didn't want to give me a chance. Mind you, it was a whole new regime. They came in. I'm like the leftovers, and I'm hurt, and I'm this liability. Heck no, they didn't want me there. At that point, as you can imagine, everything I'd been through, I couldn't have cared less about all that. Whether you like it or not, I'm giving this a go at this point. Is that surprising to you?
No. I mean, at that point, he's on the downside of his career. He's damaged goods. Do you want to be devoting your resources and time to a guy that may or may not be back? But for Alex Smith, it was personal, and I think that he felt that. And I'm guessing it wasn't as necessarily black and white as he laid it out. And he used that as fuel. I think that was something that he used to help fuel him on his comeback trail. And clearly he's got his feelings about it, and he's sharing those. And I don't blame him. I'm sure that's how it would feel. Like, yeah, okay, sure, you're going to be back, but we got to move on as an organization. Right. We can't count on you to ever play football again, let alone come and play at a respectable level as he did, which I think is one of the most incredible comebacks that we've seen. I think that it's
their sole
miraculous.
goal. It is. It's nothing short of miraculous. It is Ron Rivera's goal, and really job 1 through 10 was: is Dwayne Haskins the answer at quarterback in the long term for the Washington football team? That was it.
No.
That's his entire focus. He comes to a conclusion very quickly that he was not, and they moved off of him. But he's trying to build something from scratch there. Okay, so this is the business part of the NFL. Like, I don't hold this against Ron Rivera, because he's trying to build something from scratch. And Alex Smith is coming off a catastrophic injury, and he's a guy who, no, you would not put a whole lot of time and resources into it at this point in his career. It doesn't make any sense. So I also don't blame Alex Smith, and I hold no fault of him for being for feeling this way and using it as motivation. I think it's reasonable for him to do so. I think it makes sense. It ends up being one of the great comeback stories of all time. But I mean, it's very understandable from Washington's perspective that that's going to be the case. Did you see the football team tweet of that the new uniforms for them won't come until 2022, and they're going to have fan participation in it and so forth? Isn't one of the most remarkable things in marketing sports of the last, maybe of my lifetime, is that they had no plan?
It is stunning.
I mean, it's really remarkable.
Did they say in that, are they just rolling with football team, or did they say, because
they're rolling with football team in 2021, they will rebrand in 2022
completely? So a name potentially.
I don't know if it means new colors, if it just means new name, or if it means, I mean, they could honestly just roll as the football team.
I kind of like it. I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I don't know that you have to move off of that. I just think it's remarkable that there wasn't that I mean, this has been being talked about for 20 years, and it was always the name. It was not the imagery. The imagery was always fine. The imagery was actually done by a Blackfeet Indian from Montana named Blackie Wetzel, who designed their logo that's on their helmet. And my hunch would be that Native Americans have absolutely zero issue with that image being on the side of the helmet, and probably take great pride in it based on conversations I've had previously. I think the name was always the issue. So the idea that they weren't ready immediately for that is pretty remarkable. That they didn't have some things ready to go. And there's all these all these rumors out there, or all this stuff out there about how they had whether it's Red Tails or these other names that they were ready to go with, and guys bought up the web domains and they won't sell them to them. So they're kind of stuck making it up, and I just think that's remarkable to be caught that flat-footed.
It's stunning, but unfortunately, with the way things have gone there, it's probably not surprising. I mean, and now you're seeing, doesn't that Bezos wants to go try to buy the Washington football team? There's that floating
Well, that's
about.
been rumored forever.
Yeah.
I mean, he could find that in the cushion of a couch, $5 billion, or whatever it would cost. They used to be one of the most valuable franchises in all of sport. I don't think they are anymore because of the way they've been run.
Snyder doesn't need money unless there's something going on that I don't know
Well,
about.
I don't know that I don't think he's Scrooge McDuck, though. I don't think he's got gold coins he's jumping into. I read a story a year or so. It might have been from John Keim about that some of the minority owners in Washington were starting to flex, and that he's not quite as liquid as he used to be.
Okay, so that he could be bought. Because I would say at some point there's billionaires would just be like, yeah, I'm not selling. Like, I don't care. I already am a billionaire. So what, are you gonna make me more of a billionaire? Great.
Right.
So what?
Right. Yeah. There comes a point of no return, though, and we saw this with the Clippers with Donald Sterling, where it was like, look, dude, we can't have you in this anymore. It's enough. And eventually they forced his sale to Ballmer, and Ballmer paid $2 billion for the Clippers. And at the time, you went, boy, that seems crazy. The Clippers for $2 billion, but by the time it's all said and done, I don't think it will be.
Not at all. No. Not at all.
Yeah. It's tricky. It's tricky. And the Indians are having to go through that. I don't know if you've seen this, but the Indians, all of the stuff you try to buy Indians merchandise on MLB.com or anything, it's just Cleveland baseball. Like, they don't even reference Indians. Like, if you type in Nike, Indians doesn't even come up. It just says Cleveland.
Cleveland baseball. Yeah.
So they're in the middle of it as well. Tricky stuff when you have to do that.
By the way, my mom texted me after the opening segment and said, "Oh, are there any pictures of you and the kids playing basketball last night?"
Oh, sweet mom.
I was like, Mom,
Sweet
the kids weren't at my house last night. You would have known if they were
Does
there.
Mom know of the...
Oh, yeah, she knows
Does
about
she
it.
know?
Oh, yeah. Well,
Okay.
Buckeye was the
Sometimes
originator, and he used to do it to my mom all the time. And for years, she'd be like, "Oh, that happened to Nathan." And he's like, "Yeah, I know." That's the point. That's the whole gimmick.
S is the originator?
Oh, yeah. S is the original story stealer. Yeah.
Well, I feel bad then because I mean that's what an incredible achievement. Whatever else he's done in life, that's
one of his best. That's one of his best. And you're
one of the great gimmicks of all time.
I've had one that's made it to the Mount Rushmore. You with the Four Horsemen, that's on the Mount Rushmore. I mean, there have been some great ones to be a part of. There's no doubt.
Yeah. Well, I think when you add the public nature of it, certainly that adds to Mount Rushmore ability.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Certainly does. All right, we'll go over Jarvis Landry's best plays from this past season. That's coming up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. obsessing over something like football can be a problem. If you're obsessing over gambling, it can be dangerous. Do something to take your mind off it. If you want some tips, you go to keepitfunohio.com for great ways to keep gambling fun. Earlier this month, clevelandbrowns.com, the Z and one of the Ibs boys, Sir Andrew Gribble, gave their thoughts on Jarvis Landry's best plays of 2020. You can find that on the homepage. Gribble's pick was the wild card 40-yard touchdown catch.
And run.
You're on. And Z's was week 4 at Dallas, the 37-yard TD pass to Odell. This was my Odell favorite play, was this play from Odell's perspective because of the connective tissue of the two of them. And so I understand where you would have. Jarvis got a lot to choose from here, though, when you think about it.
He's got a ton. And Jarvis did something, as we all know, that hadn't been done since Jeff George fan Eric Metcalf did it back in his rookie year, which was, as a member of the Browns, throw a touchdown, catch a touchdown, and run for a touchdown. Yep. And so that, to me, is pretty incredible. So you look at the throws, you look at some of the catches. He had some great ones. You look at the run against, as Gibbe says, the Pukers here in Week 17. Final points the team would score that day to clinch the playoff spot. He had the nice touchdown catch in the playoffs. He scored in both playoff games. He scored in Week 17. I mean, he scored every time it was important to you as an organization.
Every time it mattered.
Every time it mattered, he got in there and he took care of his business. And so I thought that was something that was incredibly, says a lot about Jarvis Landry. But that touchdown pass, there aren't many better thrown balls by anybody. He crow hops, throws an absolute laser, the tightest spiral possible, and it's right where it needs to be. And I think that is something that to me was pretty darn cool.
He was somebody, his skill is something that Kevin Stefanski saw it right away.
Yep.
And then loved it. And it's in the beginning, I don't know how many people realize he's left-handed, throws it left-handed. I think so many people don't realize that, so I think that allows you to do some certain things. But then even on those trick plays, he would do variations off of them because of Jarvis's abilities.
Of course.
So, whether to keep it or to throw it, I mean, there was just so much. And he was so – Coach obviously trusts him so much, and he validated that trust with his play. There are so many cool ones. It's hard for me just sentimentally. The run against Pittsburgh in Week 17, just from a sentimental standpoint, is so special because it's the one that gets you in. It ends up being the final score, and you just think back to him, and it's contagious.
Yep.
And that's to me like full circle.
Yep.
You have it all there. You have because really when you think about it, from my vantage point at least, I think of the rebuild or the building of the Browns, if you will. To me, Jarvis Landry acquisition is job one.
It's massive.
That changes it.
Of course.
That changes it.
Culture shift, performance shift, the guy who does everything the right way. A guy who, if you need him to block, he's going to block. When you need a big play, he's going to make it. He's going to lead. He's going to give you everything he's got. He's going to play with broken bones in his back. He is going to do everything that you need and set this organization, I think, on the right path. I loved that move then. I love it more now. As we've said many, many times on this show, one of our favorite Browns ever. I mean, that's the guy. And, we had the WWE champion, The Miz, on. And when The Miz was offered by the Browns, when we changed the uniforms over, they said, you can get anybody you want. Whose jersey do you want? Jarvis Landry. That's who he wanted. He met Jarvis when we were at the Bud Light Superstore, the fridge store. And they were there
That's
together.
Right. We're slinging
fridges around and
B&B appliance.
B&B. Oh, great. What a time. What a time to be alive.
I'll never forget driving up there the first day we did that and seeing people line up around the block. And Jarvis was there. Wasn't Miles there?
Miles, yep.
Was it Miles and Jarvis and Miz in that orange suit?
Yep.
And then you and I went up there and we're waiting for them to unleash the hounds, and then they just
zoomed in. Insanity. We were up above. They gave us those polo shirts that were about 38 sizes too big.
Yeah.
They were not the modern cut polo.
No.
It was
that was a
sailboat sail style.
That was your box cut.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's your old box cut. That's a whole lot of blousey is what those were.
I still have mine. Mine's in my closet. I love that shirt. That's
it's in there too. I just
collector's item.
Have you worn it?
No.
Since?
But I look at it.
Of course not.
I look at
it in there.
I enjoy it.
Looking at me. Yeah. That's a nice traditional fit, I think, as you'd call it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's what he, it's just my middle son Beamsy, like he's the quietest of the three, and he grabbed onto Jarvis and he would watch it in the full uniform every week. Every Browns game he'd watch it in the full uniform, would even have the helmet strapped on. And there's something that is so identifiable in Jarvis. And to me, if this can go on a little while longer, he is an all-time great Brown. Like
Yes.
he's headed. That's the trajectory. Like he will be beloved by this generation of Browns fans the way that Webster Slaughter is revered or Eric Metcalf is revered by a previous generation. Like he just has all of those characteristics. He is a guy, and I don't want to go on and on, but it's so easy to. Any chance you have to talk to him, you're better for it.
The best.
He's completely present. He will give you things that you aren't used to athletes giving you, especially people of his level. His availability is amazing, that he's there, and it takes COVID for him to miss a game.
Yep. And he's just genuine. He's real. Like what you see is
He's
what you
so
get.
good.
He is exactly, what you would expect him to be and want him to be and all of that. He's awesome. Yeah. I love him. I love Jarvis. I hope that
I do too.
I hope he plays with the Browns forever. I mean, I hope that he never puts on another
I hope this
uniform.
is the last place he plays.
Same. That would be.
That's how I feel about him too.
That's what I'd want. One thing I'm curious about, and this is where having Esteban would be great. Has there ever been a receiver who in a season completed passes? Because we know the touchdown to Odell. He completed a pass to Donovan Peoples-Jones in Cincinnati. Completed the pass to Baker in Tennessee or Jacksonville. I'm sorry, Jacksonville. No, it was Tennessee. Tennessee. Did he complete 2 to Odell? He was 4 for 4 on the season.
I think so. I want to say 2 to Odell.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Right.
But has there ever been a receiver in a season who is a wide receiver who's completed a pass to 3 different people in the same season? Has that ever been done?
Stevie.
Somebody.
I don't know. That's a research. That's a research for Stevie. Get Esteban on it. He'd sort it out. Get Ned Fox Plimpton on it.
And I'm not talking about, I mean, Antoine Randall L's the first person that pops in my mind as having a chance to doing it.
Cordell Stewart or something like that.
But he's a quarterback.
Receiver.
He's a quarterback.
Yeah, you're saying a true receiver throwing the ball. I can't imagine it's
in
happened.
A season completes a pass to 3 different receivers.
I can't imagine that it's happened. And someone will help us with that, I'm sure.
Actually, I think it's 4. I think it's Odell. I think that it is.
Is it Higg?
Baker. It's Peoples-Jones. And then didn't he throw that throwback screen to Kareem Hunt?
Might be.
Yes, he did.
Might be 4. 4 different. Yeah. So,
I'm gonna get the answer on to whether or not it's 3 or 4.
We'll get the answer.
I'll get that. But I want somebody
so
out there who's listening to let me know if is that historic, and if it is,
that's ever happened.
Why aren't we talking about it more?
Well, we are. Yeah, we're talking about it now, and yeah, it probably should have been talked more. Here are your choices. We got to narrow this down to 4. You and Gribbs, your 2 are in there. They would be 2 of the 4 for sure. I would add that I feel like the run against Pittsburgh is a lock. Like that has to be in there too for just what it meant as a play from Jarvis. The other options for the 4th are the 19-yard pass to DPJ in the 4th quarter, the Jacksonville 5-yard TD catch on part of an 8-catch, 143-yard day, the 6-yard pass to Baker Mayfield as well in there, and the divisional touchdown catch against Kansas City.
I like this touchdown catch against Tennessee as well, which is not on this list. The back of the end zone, Baker goes through his progressions right to left and then hits him on the back shoulder, keeping it away from the safety in the middle of the field. I thought that was a great route. I thought he came down the back of the end zone very well. I liked that one. The Jacksonville one was, I think you can put on there because it was his first of the year. But, when you catch a touchdown in a playoff game against the Kansas City Chiefs, that's big time too. I think it's really a 2-horse race. It's the throw to Odell.
Did he have one against the Raiders? That I remember, like a one-handed one against the Raiders?
He caught 2 passes.
Oh, yeah, he did.
1 for 19, 1 for 25.
Yeah, he had a one-handed one against the Raiders that was pretty good.
That was really good.
Where he just put a mid up.
So I was right. It's 4 different people. It wasn't Kareem Hunt. It was Nick Chubb. It was that throwback across the field screen against the Ravens.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yep.
So he completed 4 passes to 4 different receivers.
All right. Who are our 4? Who's our 4th? Let's just do 3.
Do 3. It's fine.
So I think you know who the 3 are. The 3.
The 4th's not winning, so it doesn't matter.
So it'll be the 3. So you're going to go the wild card 40-yard touchdown catch and the wild card win, the throw to Odell Beckham Jr., and then the 3-yard run against Pittsburgh that were the final points scored.
That's right.
We'll go with those 3 as your Ohio Lottery keep it fun poll, and we'll let you know how that goes. Are we going to let them know tomorrow how that goes? Or are we going to let them know? Yeah, tomorrow. Gibby says so. We'll let the people know tomorrow about that. Yeah. That's it. So he's awesome. He's absolutely awesome, and there's a lot of the moments that he's provided already are plentiful, to say the least.
Yeah.
And he's part of a room that has everybody back if it wants to, and yet there is the word that you and I talk about a lot, which is speed, speed, speed. Is this the room that needs to add a little bit of this, and how would that happen? What would it look like? We will go through the position group of wide receiver coming up at the top of the hour. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Your game plan for the season includes buying or selling a home. Howard Hanna Real Estate Services has you covered. Visit howardhanna.com/go Browns. Today we continue our positional breakdown. Hey, what's Senior Swag wearing today? What are we into?
It was a fine look. It was kind of
I missed the outfits.
A dark green kind of
an
jacket
olive?
with a collar popped. And he had a nice shirt under, and then some nice boots, and the jeans going down into it. I can't say for sure it was jeans. His jeans are pants, but the jacket was the star. It was it looked like a wool, kind of like a pea coat.
Was
but with just the collar popped, the short collar? It was very nice.
Was it an olive or was it more of a pine green?
More of a pine than an olive.
Okay, I like it.
Yeah.
I always need to know. These are my favorite things. These are things that are important to me. I like knowing, especially when I'm not there. You're my eyes and the ears at the place. You're the ears for the people. You're the eyes for me.
For your random things that you really enjoy, which one would be the Senior Swag outfits? The other, what is Jim Donovan doing with his horses? What if you had to rank one of those two head to head? What is?
Oh, jeez, why
tough.
do that to me?
I'm sorry. Don't answer.
Choosing a kid. I don't want to do that.
Yeah,
I don't want to do that. Those
Don't
are
do
my two favorite. Two of my five or six favorite things that I have to choose from are that is what is Senior Swag wearing today? Used to be, what type of sneakers are people wearing? I was always very interested in that.
The soup of the day.
And then soup of the day was an extraordinary find to figure out that little treasure trove of going down and seeing what it was. And I'll never forget the day when there was a split pea and you just went, I didn't see that
and
coming.
it was the smoked ham in it that was really the star of that split pea.
Well,
I mean,
listen, there's a lot of people will run out a chicken noodle, a chili. Those are main staples. You'll even get a mulligatawny from time to time. But to run out a wedding soup, you'll see that. But the idea that you're going to trot out a split pea, like the audacity that the split pea has to be so good.
So good.
Because you can screw that up.
Oh, it can be
but
bad.
If done right, it's the king of soups in my view.
Well, to me, it's beef soup, and then everything's competing for second. But a good split pea, you're
That's
right,
different.
Is
Beef,
right up there.
Beef soup to me
It's a part
is
of my
a
DNA.
meal.
It is a meal.
Yeah, and it's a meal. It's not like a soup is a part of a meal. Beef soup is. I've almost put beef soup as done the way that you do it. To me, I put that in a chili. That's almost chili. Like I don't think chili's soup. Chili's a meal.
No, beef soup's definitely a soup, not a chili. But yes, I hear what you're saying. It is a meal.
But
I am
a
a soup
it's
as
a
meal person. Though.
Like it's not.
I can have a minestrone.
I am too, but I wouldn't.
A ramen.
I don't think I would do a whole meal of just like split pea. Like that's the whole meal. No, I mean it's a part of a meal. It's an accoutrement.
Maybe there are classifications.
Like that in a steak, fantastic.
Maybe there's a classification that there are soups that are meals, and then there are soups that are sides. That there are.
With this. I don't. Yep, I like it. I like where your head's at.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the sheer amount of beef that is in the beef soup.
Yeah.
Transcends soup.
Well, yeah, and you get the bone, you get the shank bone app.
Yeah, there's.
I mean, you're
shank bone app. What do you want?
You're living the dream. Speaking of, real quick, I wanted to say this before we get into our wide receiver room, which we will get to because I think it is a very interesting room for this offseason. I wanted to share. I just had my daughter Arden. Sometimes she loves a good meat sauce, and so she was like, "Dad, make the meat sauce this weekend." And so what I do, and beef soup kind of made me think of it. So when I make beef soup now, I will always save a cup of the broth at the end,
a little stock,
to either put in the freezer or if I'm going to make the meat sauce soon thereafter. But a cup of that. So this is what I did this weekend, and I think it's a little bit of a variation on some things that I've done in the past, but this is what I'm going to go with from now on. So I started with the meats, and this time I went a pound of ground bison, a pound of lean ground turkey, because you don't need the fat because you're going to get enough fat off the bison, even though bison is a very lean meat, on the turkey.
I love this. Yep.
So I went the pound of bison, a pound of 99.1 turkey. Normally I would have to go 93.7 turkey to keep so that you could get some of the moisture in there. But now with that, you don't. Then I did a whole pound of the turkey hot Italian sausage. So I start off in my big Dutch oven, olive oil, brown these meats up. Chop, get in there with the spatula, you're getting them ground up, getting all that good. So and while they're browning, then I throw in a little garlic salt, a little pepper, and some Italian seasonings in there, and while that's browning up.
It's critical as you're browning all of that the meat is of the same consistency and size.
Correct.
You don't want big chunks, so that's what you have to work it. It's not something that you
it's
can
a labor
just.
of love.
That's right.
A lot of this.
You got to get after it. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to be getting there, chopping.
That's right.
Yeah,
Lots of that.
You need a good sharp spatula for it. Initially, especially to get those nice cuts that you can start mixing up and get those little balls of goodness. So once that's all done, then I use that same spatula and I spatula that meat out and I put it in a bowl and cover it with foil just to keep it warm, but it's off to the side. And now I have some fats in there. I got some oils in there, and I'm good. Yep. But this is where I added an extra step this is an unprecedented step. I added at Heinen's, and I know you shop at Heinen's as well from time to time.
Yep, I've been.
They sell at the butcher area, they sell tenderloin tips. So it's the tips of the full tenderloin. It's a great price.
Yes.
It's filet mignon, just little nuggets of filet mignon goodness.
Little nuggets of goodness.
So I decided I like tenderloin tips. Wouldn't it be nice? I'm going through my meat sauce, and all of a sudden there's a little tenderloin tip for me. I think it would be.
Wow, what an addition.
So the next step
really
after
all
the ground meats are out, some tenderloin tips. I did about a 3/4 of a pound of tenderloin tips. So it's a very meaty sauce. So get those, brown those. Those are out. So now in comes I didn't even need to put more oil in. In comes the veggies. And so veggies would be fresh chopped garlic, tons of cloves. I don't think you can have too many.
Yep.
I do obviously an onion, a big sweet onion chopped up real nice. And then I always think carrots are important. But what I've discovered, this is my little shortcut. I buy the carrot sticks.
Yep.
And then I just chop those down. And so now you've got a finely minced carrot. Mincing a real carrot is actually a tough thing to do. But when you get the carrot sticks, you can just go ahead.
One cheat.
Yeah.
Use the cheese grater to do the carrot.
Uh-huh.
Use the cheese grater to do the carrot, and then it's.
Well, I feel like we have two ways to skin the cat here. I buy the sticks, and then I line them up, and I make a little line, and then I go.
Sure.
Pop, 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 pop. So then that goes in there. So, and then obviously, of course, some from Baby Bellas. I got to have my Baby Bellas. I chop those up. Those are in. So all that's now in those fats and those oils, and those now I'm browning the vegetables up.
What a win.
While I'm browning the vegetables, once they get those start to look good and get a little redolent, you're getting the good smells and you're seeing it looking nice, and also a little garlic salt, a little pepper, a little Italian seasoning again, some crushed red. Oh, I forgot to mention, the original oil is a combination of olive oil and Calabrian chili oil to give a little heat to that base.
Oh, my gosh.
Okay? Now.
You can always add the heat option. I can't with the kids. Continue.
Now, when I'm ready, and these are starting to look good, that's when in goes a cup of the beef soup broth.
Oh,
so
boy.
all the veggies and the mushrooms are now bubbling around in here. You're getting the wooden spoon, getting the bits, the burnt bits. And after that simmers down, now I go a cup of red wine. So I've been using that nice Opera Super Tuscan.
Red wine?
So now that's in there. And that before it's totally gone, meat back. Mix that around. Now in come 2 big giant cans of the diced crushed tomatoes, a can of stewed tomatoes because I'm a big stewed tomato guy, and then a small can of stewed, small can of fire roasted diced. That in there.
Jeez.
Few more seasonings. Mix it up. Cover. Stir. Enjoy. And I gotta tell you, it was in the house. Everybody was saying best meat sauce of all time. Now I'm a prisoner of the moment. Pretty much every time I cook, I declare what I've just cooked to be the best it's ever been. I'm very much a prisoner of the moment.
You're like Bootsy.
Yeah. But this one truly was, and I think to your
point. What was the pasta you went with it?
So for the first night, we just did a spaghetti. I would recommend, if I'm doing a special occasion, that Flour brand pasta. Have you seen that fresh pasta in your local grocer?
Yep.
Their rigatoni's great. Their bucatini's great. It's all great. It's the best pasta you can get in a store. So if for a special occasion, that's what I would go with. And then we ran it back Monday night with a spaghetti squash. Did a spaghetti squash in the oven, kept it nice and al dente, and then boom, there we go. And then you felt like, look, no carbs.
Yeah, it's valid.
And obviously a little fresh basil at the end and some fresh Parmesan cheese. Oh, one other thing. You need a couple pinches while you're making the sauce of brown sugar and a couple pinches of Parmesan cheese that you mix in there as well. It just brings it all together. So there it is.
I love it. I love it. What a job. I hope somebody took notes. I have notes. I think it's fantastic. I'm going to try some of these elements.
Gibbe was into it. I
try
could
some of
see
these
him on,
elements. I like it.
on our Zoom. Gibbe was like, I got some nods. Like, yeah, that is good. Yeah,
I'm in.
The
Yeah,
tenderloin
I like
tips,
it. I
though,
like
the
where
little
you're at there.
buddies that you got, because sometimes, you're twirling your spaghetti and the meats are on there and everything's clinging. And it's very important, I think, also with your spaghetti, don't put it underwater. You got to go from it quickly into your bowl, into the sauce, because that helps the starch on it, helps the sauce stick to the noodle. Very important.
A little bit of olive oil, too, to keep
Sure,
the water
yeah.
out of it. Maybe give it a little olive oil on those
For the
on
storage.
on the noodle. That'll
Sure.
help.
Sure.
It brings it all in. Yeah,
Sure,
it's gonna help.
Real
That's
treat.
fantastic job out of you. Should we break down the receiver room? Do we want to do that?
Yeah,
I
let's
guess we
do
should.
that.
We teased it.
We should.
Here is who. Here is as we continue our positional breakdown of your Cleveland Browns as we head into free agency and all of the fun. We now move on to wide receiver, where in-house we have Odell Beckham Jr., Jarvis Landry, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Jamarcus Bradley, Derek Willis, Ryan Switzer, Alexander Hollins. I don't even know who he is, but he's here too. The free agent, Rashard Higgins, JoJo Natson, Taywan Taylor, Kadale Hodge, and Marvin Hall. Hig would be the one that would be the most notable of that. When you look back to this room in 2020, what jumps to mind?
Well, and let's go through it real quickly. So you got Odell, and in his 7 games, 319 yards, 3 touchdowns, receiving, 72 rushing, and a touchdown. Really 6 games. He played one play in the 7th game. Some huge plays, obviously. That long touchdown, the out and up against Cincinnati, the long touchdown against Dallas, the 50-yard touchdown as well, running against the Dallas Cowboys. And so he gave you that speed. And so what stood out was that speed went away when he went away. Now, we manufactured big plays. Let's talk about that. Hollywood Higgins, how about this? 16.2 yards per catch this year. That's a career high.
Dude,
16.2 yards per catch. And Chris Collinsworth said he can't run and he can't run routes and he can't do anything.
He was inactive and then became
Inactive.
one of the most reliable big play receivers that we had. If I'm to think of one word with this group, I just think of what if. And it's not a word, obviously it's a phrase, but what if Odell had stayed healthy?
Yep.
Because what would this of offense have looked like if he would have been there to grow along with it?
Correct.
Because we went from a team that had to throw it when he was playing in a very specific way off of play action, and even then, the consistency wasn't there, to a team at the end of the year that could throw it in any way that we wanted.
Yep.
Out of the gun, straight drops, whatever you wanted. How would he have grown with this offense in the room? That, to me, and the fact that you win 12 games without him is remarkable. So that, to me, when I think of the phrase, that's the one that comes to mind is what if.
Agreed. There is a lot of what if to that because that's when Baker got comfortable. The plays were everybody was firing on all cylinders. But Odell, Jarvis, 72 catches, 840 yards, 3 touchdowns, Pro Bowler 5 of the last 6 years. As we mentioned, he's the first player since Metcalf in '89 to throw, rush, and receive a touchdown this season. And he's the heart and soul of the Browns. That's what my bullet point 5 was. Heart and soul of the Browns. Love Jarvis Landry. One of the best. Is he a burner? No. One of the best intermediate receivers and short area receivers in the game. Versatile. One of the best run blocking wide receivers in the game as well. The first question mark, first what if, though, for this offseason comes down to Hollywood Higgins. As we said, incredible chemistry with Baker. 52 catches, 599 yards, 4 touchdowns, all second most on the team. 16.2 yards per catch this season. One of the most efficient wide receivers in the NFL. 12 yards per target and over 2 yards per route run. That's ridiculous efficiency. 12 yards per target, folks. Ridiculous efficiency. He started the season inactive, as you mentioned, worked and dominated whenever given the chance. Definitely want to see him back in the brown and orange. Now, the thing is, when you play as well as Hollywood Higgins did, when you're a touchdown maker like Hollywood Higgins was, when you're a big playmaker, when you're a clutch receiver of the football, when you're all of the things and a darn good downfield blocker as well, you're going to command a lot of respect. You're going to command money. And Hollywood Higgins deserves to be paid. He took less money to come back here. He deserves to be paid. The biggest, and I think one of the toughest, the only question really on the offensive side of the ball for Andrew Berry right now is what do you do in this room? You've got a lot of money invested and tied up in Odell Beckham and Jarvis Landry. Hollywood Higgins' skill set is most similar to that of Jarvis Landry. And obviously, you could be successful with those two as your top guys, but you want more speed. So that I hope he's back. I think it's going to take a lot of creativity to make it happen. But I hope that he is back because I thought what he did and what he means to this team and his chemistry with Baker. It's his chemistry with Baker. It's undeniable how important and how just that ESP we talk about, that Dennis Hopper had, the ESP, man, they've got it. They are reading the same page.
Bad things, man.
In the same book. That's right. Bad things. This is Hardy Nickerson. He is furious and often angry. Oh, God, I love that stuff. All right, our key reserves. Donovan Peoples-Jones. He was our secret last year, and apparently nobody was buying what we were selling. So he comes to us in the sixth round.
We tried telling you.
We tried telling you.
We tried telling you, kids. Tried telling you.
14 catches, 304 yards, 2 touchdowns, 15 yards a target, 21.7 a catch. And again, time speed, great. Play speed, a little bit different, but a good route runner. We saw that out and up where the guy's still looking for his shorts in Tennessee. He made huge plays. The game winner against Cincinnati, a great blocker, primary punt returner, arrow pointing up. I can't wait to talk with Chad O'Shea because I really think he has an opportunity to take a big step forward. And he's a guy that shows he can play vertically, but more contested vertically than just pure burner vertically.
There were 2 things that he did that I don't think people realized he could do, and even people who followed him at Michigan all the way back to when he was the number 1 receiver in the country coming out of high school. His blocking was next level.
Yeah.
I mean, it was next level, and it was from the beginning. And he was
so
prepared. It was incredible how prepared he was. And then the other thing was he has just phenomenal hands in tight spots.
Yep.
He can high point a basketball because we use this phrase all the time coaching the kids. He can high point a football with the best of them.
Yep.
And he is incredible at contested catch.
Yep.
Incredible. And is trusted. I mean, he's trusted. He's going to be where he's supposed to be. And if it's put in a spot that he can get his hands on it, he'll catch it. He had the 1 drop against Cincinnati, and then this tells you all you need to know about him. At the end of the game, he catches the game winner.
Yep.
That's it. That's the list. That's pretty good.
Phenomenal. Great season, arrow pointing up, and a guy that you feel very, very good about. And in some ways, his game reminds me of, I would say, a poor man's Allen Robinson. High points it well, runs his routes well, can block well, all of those things. He doesn't need, is he ever going to be a true number 1 in the league like Allen Robinson? I don't know. But this is a guy who looks like he could project to become a heck of a number 2. A heck of a number 2 for a franchise here.
Yep.
Gibbe, what are you looking at me like that for? Just because I said Allen Robinson? The guy's great.
So far today, we've had Jeff George and Allen Robinson. Zegura dropping all of his buddies in.
Playing the greatest hits. We had a Rex Chapman mention, Jack
Beef
Sigma,
soup. Rex
Beef
Chapman.
Soup, the new meat sauce.
Yep. Dropping them all today.
There.
One big reunion for Zegura.
Split pea soup
That's right.
with the smoked ham. Tremendous.
Oh, that smoked ham.
God, that was good.
It really was.
Yeah, it was.
Really
Transcendent, like turkey can be, I'm told.
If done properly. Can't wait for that meal.
Oh, God. That
All right,
meal's going to be
listen.
great. All right. Yes.
Fact or fiction? Gibby wants to know. Jarvis Landry is one of the 4 most important players on the roster.
Fact. Because he's so much more than some of even his own parts. He's a presence.
I don't like doing that because I think that you're trying to quantify
the unquantifiable.
How do you quantify intangibles versus production versus skill versus the most important player in every roster is clearly the quarterback.
Sure.
That's the most important. And then, just from a positional standpoint, it's defensive end and corner. Like those are things that are important. You think about the offensive line. I know this. Like if you have to send 4 people out to represent the franchise, he's one of the 4.
Of course. Might be number.
I guess by that definition,
he might be number 1.
One of the most important. He would be number 1 for me.
For me?
He'd be the first. Like if you send, all right, who's going to represent the franchise at anything?
Jarvis.
Where's 80? Where is he?
Where is he?
That's the guy. That's your guy. Get him in there. Find him.
Let's
Get him in
go.
there.
I agree with that.
Factor fiction. This is the number 1 position of need for the Browns on offense heading into free agency in the draft. It is
Fact.
because the speed part of it.
Yes.
This is the position the speed comes from.
And it's not necessarily of need, but it's the position of question, right?
What?
Because we've got Hollywood, an unrestricted free agent. Kadarrell Hodge, last year, 11 catches, 180 yards, 16.4 yards per catch, special teams player. He's a restricted free agent, and then behind them, You mentioned the names, but just to go through them real quickly, Jamarcus Bradley, who was on the practice squad. I know Chad O'Shea likes him, led the team with 5 catches for 60 yards in the game we played with no receivers against the Jets. Switzer's a former 4th-round pick out of Dallas who has 537 yards, 67 catches, and a touchdown in his career. He's a slot receiver, can be a kick returner. Willie's at 6'4", is a big guy. Hollins, you mentioned Alexander Hollins, was signed off of the Minnesota practice squad late in the year. He was an undrafted free agent who spent 2019 with Stefanski and the Vikings. And then you have other free agents, Taywan Taylor, JoJo Natson, Marvin Hall, who, so you're looking at what is back as of today. Jarvis is back. Beckham is back. Donovan Peoples-Jones is back. Jamarcus Bradley, Switzer maybe. But I would expect Kadarius Hodge will be back. But, yeah, you need something in there and speed. Donovan Peoples-Jones.
That's it. It's that quality.
Speed. It's that quality. And that allows you to run some of those horizontal things that we saw even with McCole Hardman against us with the Chiefs. Mm-hmm. Those are the things that we don't have. And so, yes, I think adding speed to this room is the number one need on offense, period, is adding speed to the wide receiver room.
That's it. That's it. Gibby asked the question, is Hollywood the most important free agent this team needs to re-sign?
I mean, on offense, yes. Defensively, I would say, I think Money Mitch needs to be back. I think Hollywood I think the Hollywood situation, in some ways, Money Mitch, it's tough situations because you want to have them back as guys that you aren't necessarily counting on to lead their position in snaps, to lead their position in productivity, but that guys that you would need in the event that those who you have penciled in to lead your position in those things are unavailable. And I think Hollywood has shown
football
I would say that he should be paid like a top 64 receiver in the NFL.
And that's your problem. So both Hollywood and Money, to an extent, they are in college. They call them program guys. So they're guys that are there 4 years. They're guys that you can count on. They're guys, but they're not your stars. And unfortunately for Hollywood, he's not a star certainly, but he's played himself into not being a program guy of no fault of his own.
Correct.
Just his own talent.
Yep.
So it's a hard spot that you're in because, of course, you want him back. Of course, you want Money back. But there comes a point where the program guys, and in the NFL, the program guys, they're not there their whole careers. They're there for stretches.
Yep.
So that's the hard part, is you want to draft program guys in the 3rd to 6th round that can be there for 5 years, and then you get another guy who's in that role. That's the deal. And you're right. If something were to happen, you can count. It's an incredible luxury to have people this good.
Yes.
Because Hollywood and Money Mitch are so available and play well when called upon and handle their business.
Yes.
But because of that excellence, they become hard to pay.
And they're beloved teammates. I think Money Mitch, just given the state of the cornerback room versus the wide receiver room, probably is more important to retain his services. But I want Hollywood here. You want Hollywood here. We all want him here.
Love him. Love him to death. Yep, he's our guy. They're both our guys. It's just the reality of the business. So it'll be interesting to see how they go through that. Gibby wants to know, are the Browns better off building depth for this position through the draft or free agency? Speed in free agency is where it's at. I'm sorry, in the draft is going to be where it's at.
Yes, because you have so much money invested in your top 2 receivers that you want, in this case, relatively inexpensive labor. Now, could that come in the form of a free agent who, hasn't been productive but you think fits what you do? Sure, possibly. But I think the draft is a nice place to find a speedy receiver. It also allows for some potential succession planning.
Yeah, I was just looking to think, and I would think as quick as even wouldn't you think 2nd round? You'd be if a speedy receiver's there, you take a look if the right one's there in the 1st round, because you're not in a position where my hunch is we won't be in the draft in the 1st round saying we have to draft somebody here who's going to start. Like, I think you can take the best player because we don't really have that many holes.
Right.
And my guess is the issues that we do have will be addressed in free agency.
Right. I agree with that. I think that you're going to identify, I think, in free agency, some of the moves you want to make, whether it's retaining guys or going out and getting them. And I think that, for example, defensive end is a wonderful thing. The crop in free agency is it's rich. It's a bountiful crop. So we'll have a better idea about this as we get closer. But, yeah, if you can find a young guy with speed, that sets you up and just gives you so much roster flexibility and allows you to, really be judicious with your money. I think you want to find that receiver because finding a speedy receiver that's really going to impact the game for you. Now, Taylor Gabriel's a guy that knows this offense that could end up being cheap because he opted out last year and was not as productive in his final year in Chicago. But other than that, you can't pay top dollar for another receiver, which is the issue, the problem that we're running into with the great performance of Hollywood Higgins, is that he deserves top dollar. He has earned it. He has earned it. And I don't know how that fits in with what we're trying to do, as much as I know everybody wants him back.
A couple of guys, I don't think Kadarius Toney out of Florida will be there when we pick in the second round. But a guy who has that burn ability is Rondale Moore out of Purdue. He could be somebody who slides. He hasn't played a lot of football, but he's electric. Runs 4.45 somewhere in there, and he is a guy who can get separation. And in the draft, could be a guy who would have some of what you'd want maybe in that position with an ability to get separation there. Gibby wants to know, what does Donovan Peoples-Jones have to do to take the next step in his development? I think just play more.
Yep. I think it's play more. I think it's
he puts in the work. Yeah.
Continue to learn the subtleties and the nuances of route running and diversify his route tree, all of those things. Yeah, I think Donovan Peoples-Jones is exactly the guy that, Chad O'Shea wants to be coaching. Talented, great ball of clay, and you've got a great coach, I think, to mold him and great role models in that room. And I think you got to be thrilled if you're the Browns with what you got out of Donovan Peoples-Jones. And the fact that that I think you're just scratching the surface.
What should realistic expectations for Odell be coming off the ACL tear?
I think high.
It's been so long, unfortunately,
since we've seen that elite
level.
level.
But I mean, he's been hurt so often, and we've seen the high end of it. I just want for him. We know how hard he works. The time he puts in. I just want one healthy season here. Yep. I just would love to see it. That's it.
Is this offense conducive to a return to what we saw from Odell Beckham Jr. in 2016, 101 catches, 1,367 yards, 10 touchdowns? Probably not. But could he average 14 yards a catch? Could he give you 1,200 yards and 8 touchdowns? Of course he can. And that's what I would love to see for him. I would love to see him. The sad thing is Odell's played 16 games once since 2016. He's played in his first 3 years in the league, he played 43 games. In his last 4 years in the league, he has played a grand total of 39.
Yeah. That's all I want. I just want him to play. I just want 16 games or 17 or whatever it ends up being. That's what you're looking for.
Yep.
So that's what you sit in the receiver room, and it's a fascinating conversation to be had in terms of, and really the only real question mark for Andrew Berry this offseason is this room, and what does he do with it? Everything else is pretty straightforward. You return them all, and that's the way you go. Daniel Jeremiah with his top 50 prospect rankings out. We get to that coming up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Beau and Nathan on the first Friday. ESPN Cleveland Browns Daily. Daniel Jeremiah with his top 50 prospects. This is not a mock now. No. Just his top 50 prospects for the draft. This came out yesterday. Trevor Lawrence, number 1. Jamar Chase, number 2. He, of course, sat out this season at LSU as he opted out. He is his number 2 overall. Kyle Pitts. The interesting thing about Pitts is a lot of people have him as a wide receiver instead of a tight end.
He's just a weapon.
Like some teams
He's a
have
stud.
him. Right. He is a stud. He is. He absolutely is that. Zach Wilson, a lot of people love him. So does Jeremiah. He is 4. Caleb Farley, the corner out of Virginia Tech, is 5. Jalen Waddle, number 6 out of Alabama. And that would back up to kind of what I've seen a lot of people say in terms of him and Devontae Smith. And so Waddle going ahead there. Rashawn Slater, the offensive tackle out of Northwestern, I can vouch for how good he is. Devontae Smith, the Heisman winner, is 8. Penei Sewell, 9, the offensive tackle out of Oregon. Micah Parsons, linebacker, Penn State, number 10. Go ahead, buddy.
Were you surprised that Penei Sewell is not the top tackle on Jeremiah's list?
I was. I'm not surprised he's ranked this low, but I am surprised because of the point you just made. I haven't seen anybody rank him anything other than the number 1 tackle, but he opted out too. I mean, he didn't play. So I think that's the tricky part, with these guys. Whereas the kid from Northwestern played.
Right.
Slater played, and people saw what he did, and I think it's going to be difficult. I think it's very difficult for teams this year. You're going off of tape of somebody who was 20 years old in some instances, 19 years old in some, trying to determine what they are, what they'll be when they're 21. It's a tough ask for scouts this year.
Yeah, I think it's a big challenge in what's going on here. Big challenge.
Yeah, he has Trey Lance 11 and then Justin Fields 12. It's really interesting to me. It seems to me that Justin Fields that the game against Northwestern, where he was playing with an injured hand, is being held against him by all, and he gets very little credit for the way he played against Clemson in the Sugar Bowl when he was lights out.
It is interesting to think that he is below, Lance and Wilson.
The kid from North Dakota State played one game.
And significantly behind Wilson.
Yes, significantly behind Wilson, and he played one game. The kid from North Dakota State, Trey Lance, who may be great, who knows? But he played one game, and he played one season the year before, and that's it. And he did it at NDSU.
Right.
And you're seeing enough from him going through progressions at NDSU, whereas Justin Fields played in the college football playoff and played for a national championship and played against the schedule he played against. And you're telling me that you could tell that about Lance versus Fields? I have a hard time. To me, that I don't understand it.
And he's saying they're both projections. He's saying they're both projections,
yeah.
But yeah, surprising to me. I agree, surprising. Greg Rousseau,
our guy
13th.
Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah is 17 on this list, which I'm not happy about because it probably means he has zero chance of getting to us.
Yeah, and he probably does. I was just saying Rousseau as an edge was a guy that has been – you see him go all over the place, but he's got him 13th. Yes.
Another opt-out. He's another opt-out guy.
Another opt-out. Quiddy Pay, which is the player from Michigan that we had him moving, us moving, trading 2 2s and our 1 to go get. Again, I don't see that happening. He has him 19th.
Yeah, I don't see that. I don't see. I think again he falls into that category of guys where what do you do with them when they sit out? I mean, how do you judge where they are physically? Zaven Collins is a guy that we're mocked to us a lot, the outside linebacker out of Tulsa, and he has him at number 24 on his list of guys. I was looking for some reason, and I don't see him yet. I was looking for the defensive end out of Penn State.
He's in
Jason Owe, who I like a lot. He's 33.
33, and then Joe Tryon, the edge rusher from Washington, is 27th, which would be around the spot where we are. You mentioned earlier Kadarius Toney. I think he's 21 on this list, the receiver from Florida.
Yep.
Here's a name, though, that we've heard a few times that I think could be interesting. Now, is he going to be around for us? He has Owe 33, he's at Mac Jones 34, and then as you keep going down, 36. This is a name that I think Tutu Atwell. And this is what he says about him. Atwell's an undersized wideout who seems like he's playing with an invisible jetpack on his back. Primary lined up in the slot at Louisville, rare burst, gets up to speed in an instant, creates 5 yards of separation on vertical routes, tapping another gear when the ball's in the air. Isn't asked to run a wide variety of routes, but he excels on bubble screens, quick hitters, jet sweeps. He's tough. He can use his speed to navigate around defenders in space. Going to be a fun toy for his offense at the next level, capable of scoring from anywhere on the field. That kid, to me,
there you go.
Sounds like what we need. A 2-2 Atwell.
Yeah.
So put him on our list.
Rondale Moore's got a lot of that too. I mean, he would have that same type of thing. I don't know if he has the same. I haven't seen this kid play, so I can't vouch for his ability to separate the way Jeremiah can. Daniel knows what he's doing clearly. But I think Rondale Moore would be a similar guy that you'd line up in the slot that would just fly by people. You could use him on jet sweeps. He makes people miss. He's great in space. I think he's kind of in that realm too with Atwell. Those are a couple of guys that kind of fit that bill a little bit. But this speaks to this is interesting because it's what Andrew Berry, the decision he has to make. Does he go in free agency? Because we both think that he will address defensive end opposite Miles in free agency. So when you do that, do you address that? He has two paths. Do you address it the Lawson type, and that's a guy who's going to play opposite Miles for the next 8 years?
Right.
You might have to pay more for it
over
the long term. Or do you go the J.J. Watt, Von Miller route, and now all of a sudden that's a shorter deal, and then you draft the young defensive end, because there's obviously, you're talking about OA, these guys we're talking about, they're really good, and they could be there when we pick at 26. So there's a couple of ways to look at this, and your free agency plan will dictate, I think, your draft plan.
I think you're exactly right about that, and it's right. What's the route that you go? And yes, if you've checked that off with a Lawson or a Hendrickson, a 26-year-old, then that's not something you're doing early. That frees you up to go corner, frees you up to go safety, linebacker, wide receiver, the speed there. Best player available at the end of the first. If you don't, if it's a J.J. Watt, you still could take a pass rusher in the first round, to your point. So I think that we'll have a lot better idea of what it is that the Browns are truly looking for early in this, once free agency is a few weeks underway. And really probably early in free agency, because if it's somebody that's going to be that altering, they're probably getting signed early in free agency.
And Watt could sign at any point. He could sign at any time. So you have to think that will be the case, and then you can make your adjustments off of that. Our friends at Pro Football focus on who we should target this offseason in free agency. We will give you our thoughts on that coming up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Your Social Security benefits have been denied. Call the disability lawyers at 1-800-ELK-OHIO. Elk and Elk is a proud partner of your Cleveland Browns. Our friends at Pro Football Focus with a Browns off-season plan that they've put together. Z, there's a lot to this. It's pretty comprehensive when you look at it, and it basically addresses every position of need, potential free agents in the draft, and everything else. And it's got a lot of the names, that we've talked about, certainly, including ones that used to play here, like Brashard Perriman, who was great here with Baker a couple years ago and would be that guy who can run fast in a straight line and catch deep balls, as he proved here a couple years ago. But also on defense, as you look at some of their hopes and wishes and projected paths, what ones jump out?
Well, obviously on the offensive side of the ball, the real questions center around that wide receiver room and Hollywood Higgins, Perriman, and then the guys that you could get in the draft. And we'd mentioned Tutu Atwell. And by the way, while we were talking there, I was watching some of his highlight tapes. That dude, he looks fun. That guy looks very fun out of Louisville. They mentioned Diami Brown out of North Carolina, who's a guy that should be, again, another vertical type of oriented receiver, speed guy. So that's the question. Perriman, I think, would be a great fit. Totally a vertical guy. Now bigger and also gives a little size. He didn't have former first-round pick, and we know obviously played well with Baker. He's averaged over 18 yards per catch over the last 3 seasons. So that's an interesting one to me. Other than that, all the focus is on defense, and it's all 3 levels of defense, right? It's the edge rusher. Is it a J.J. Watt? Is it a Carl Lawson? Is it one of, are you going older or younger? Are you going through the draft? We mentioned so many different names in terms of guys. Rashad Weaver out of Pitt is somebody that they mentioned. The guy from Penn State that you talked about, Tryon, the 2 Miami eds, Rousseau as well. So that is, I think, focus 1. Linebacker, they list our guy here, Owusu Koromoa, and could he be somebody that comes into this? I just don't think he's going to be available to us, but that's something. So that's somebody to look at. B.J. Goodson played serviceably for the Browns last year. He could come back. Malcolm Smith was good in coverage. He could come back. And then if you get into the cornerbacks, and you're going to look at a slot, and this is a name now that I like, Elijah Molden, because of what they say here. The slot corner is a start in today's NFL, and Molden is about as safe a bet as anyone in this draft class. Played the majority of his snaps in his career at Washington in the slot, was excellent there, a strong addition to the secondary the Browns have clearly prioritized in recent drafts. And by the way, I like Washington corners. They seem to be They seem to end up being pretty okay.
They're prepared
in the NFL. Desmond King is the guy that a name that we've talked about as well, who was the best slot corner in the league in 2017 and 18, but something went amiss, ends up getting traded to Tennessee and certainly helped them. But he's a guy that could end up being a slot for you. And then Will Parks was a name we talked about last year as a potential safety free agent.
I remember
again,
this.
And his best year came in with Joe Woods in 2018 and can play both safety positions. So some versatility there. So he's somebody that would be interesting. Trevon Moehrig is a guy that plays slot corner as well as safety. And you think about if the Browns really go to that kind of 3 safety look with Delpit, and Harrison, he's a guy that maybe you look at late in the first round as well.
And you can do that, and that's when we talk about Owusu Koromoa, that he would be, when we talk about that 3 safety, he would essentially be one of them.
Right.
I mean, he's 215. That's basically what he is. He's basically, I mean, he's like what like Dos Unos, like that. What he's trying to do in Arizona and what he did at Clemson. That's the type of player that Owusu Koromoa is. So that's when we talk about, because everyone comes in, I think you said no off-ball linebackers. Well, this isn't really it's not that in the traditional sense.
It's a guy who can cover. It's a guy who can rush the passer. He's a defensive weapon.
Correct.
That's what you're looking
and Delpit
for.
can probably do a lot of that.
Of course.
We know he can do
and
a lot
so
of
can
that
Harrison.
at LSU. So
Harrison was great
Harrison
against the
can do
run.
that too.
You look at a lot of our interceptions, Harrison was blitzing on a lot of those. And by the way, he was making them as well. He's a playmaker. I think we have a chance to turn the back end of our defense into a real asset, this season and play.
Oh,
I think you could.
If it all, I mean, fingers crossed, it could be really chesty back there. I think it could be really good. If you can get healthy in a couple of moves here or there, could be really special.
I mean, if we could be a team that plays a lot of what I would call 4-1-6 dime, but do it in a way where you're using one of those safeties as that second linebacker, and so you're locking down, you can be blitzing from anywhere, you've got athletes all over the field. I think I think that's something Joe Woods would be interested in, that's for sure.
I would too. And you're going to be interested in this next segment because there's still so much
Oh, my
more
God,
to come.
so
You're
much.
listening to Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. What do you got on the slate tonight, Z?
What?
What do you got on the slate tonight? What are your plans? You got anything going on?
Kids tonight, maybe a little get in the streets, get
Nice.
some Vicks on Fortnite. We're gonna watch Young Rock, which we've been saving up to do that as we're gonna take a break tonight from the Marvel
is that?
universe. I've heard it's great. We'll be starting it tonight, so we'll get the first two episodes in.
30
and
seconds.
Art
Did
has
you see
requested a
A&E
little.
with those?
Oh yes, I did.
You're not hard of seeing.
Not hard to see in those documentaries. That's gonna be great. I can't wait for that. And Arden's requested some ramen, a little homemade ramen tonight, which is always one of my favorites.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Yeah, I look forward to the Macho one because obviously there hasn't been anything with him because of the Zeus.
10 seconds.
The next level's next, Mach.
Next level is next. Yeah, don't make me come off the top rope and give you the 1, 2, 3. So listen to Emmett and Gerard. Yeah, next level, ESPN Cleveland. Thanks for listening. Yeah.